Hello?
Hi. Sorry about that.
Oh yeah, sorry.
No, you're good. We got there. We got there. Okay, so start session 2. So let's get the show on the road, man. For the sake of your time and mine, what's your MMR? What are you here for, et cetera, all this fun stuff.
So I was Crusader and
Just to make sure we talk in numbers, because I don't know what any of that means.
sorry, I'm hearing the Twitch stream at the same time. Okay, so I was a Crusader 5. I spent all summer climbing. I was like 2.2k and then I kind of like shit out and I'm like 1.75k now. I feel like an idiot, but I
Nice.
don't know. I feel like I'm stuck in MMR hell.
Okay.
I there's a lot of games where I think it might not be my fault, but I obviously think I can do much better. I like to main support, and obviously there's games where I get like a fucking dumbass like Necrophos carry, and he doesn't build right, or like
Okay.
both every lane loses, and it's just like frustrating.
Okay.
So, uh,
This is
anything else?
so yeah. I mean, the thing is, obviously, there are games out of your control as support, right? But at the
Yeah.
same time, like a very extreme example, if you put PPD position 5 in a 1K game, he'll win 90% of games. You know what I mean? Like he'll win
Mhm.
95, maybe even 100, right? The point is, from the support role, your effect on the game is on average less. That's just how it is. Um, but assuming your cores are the same skill level as the enemy cores, which they are, if you do your job better than the other five on average, you'll win more than 50% of your games. That's just how it is, right? That's how I look at
Mhm.
Dota. Like, sure, 20%, 30% of games, are they going to be out of your control? Absolutely. Like, that's just going to be how it is. But, as a support player, if you are better than what you think you are, you will gain MMR. I'm 100% positive on that. So, my goal is are you only play support? Like, is that what?
I've been trying to go switch to carry because I just hate when I am a support sometimes and see my carry. I understand the carry and support duality because I play support, so I know what a carry needs. So
Okay.
I then my carry doesn't know what, or then if I play carry, my support doesn't do what I need
I
him to do
got you. I
sometimes.
got okay. I know. I trust me. I know the struggle. So, what are we here today? Are we working on supporting or are we working on carrying?
Supporting.
Okay. So go ahead and link me a game, and we'll talk about all the things I feel like you can do, ignoring how good or bad your teammates are. Okay. That's
Okay.
what that's what we'll do. Because obviously, the lower MMR you are, the worse your teammates are going to be. That's just how it is. So we want to talk about. I will mention things that they do that you can do nothing about, simply so you understand that. But that's about the extent that I'll mention teammates. Okay. So who are you here?
I am a main eater on the silencer.
Nice. The solid game. Solid game
Yeah, it
here.
was a tough ass game. Fucking hour and a half ranked game.
Hour
Not
and
half, but like
11,
10
not an
minutes.
hour and a half. Don't over exaggerate.
It felt like an hour and a
It
half, I
felt
tell you.
probably like 3 hours.
I was making some good calls. I learned that the supports are usually like the captains for pro teams, and I was like, "Ooh, I'm a little captain for my team." But
Gotcha. Gotcha. Um, I wouldn't worry too much about captaining in your bracket. I think the extent of captaining that should occur in your bracket is maybe trying to get a guy to smoke gank with you or something. But
that's
that's
what I do. I always
okay.
like group for smoke, or
Okay. That probably won't work, but you can at least try to do that kind of stuff. So
sometimes it does.
yeah, so I do want. I mean, it's funny because chat's memeing and stuff like that, but I do want to be clear that if you keep thinking it's always your team's fault, you'll never get any better. So I
Yeah,
do want to be clear
I'm
about this.
I'm trying to take more responsibility.
Okay, that's a good first step. So let's talk about this. So first and foremost, you have two wards on you, and I'm watching you AFK until the rune. So that's a big deal to me. When you have
Wait, I can't
wards,
see their screen or
oh
anything.
fuck, God, 2 for 2.
Like
I've
where
forgotten today.
where we're supposed to be looking at
2 for 2.
some
I've
sort of
forgotten today.
notes,
Okay, here we go. It's up.
notation.
Can you see it now?
Yeah.
Okay, so I see first and foremost you're AFK at the rune, 0 minutes with 2 wards. So who on your team needs wards? What are your off lanes? You got a troll Nicker off lane, it looks
Offlane.
like, and a Spectre safe lane, Tinker mid.
Yes.
Would you say that you know Tinker may have some issues against some hero on their team? Can you think of the hero?
Alchemist went mid, I think.
Yeah, but
He
what
may
hero may give him some issues in the mid lane?
Oh, Bounty Hunter. He's the
Okay,
one that's gonna be ganking.
so why do you have this salve instead of a sentry for your Tinker? Or yourself, honestly.
I was
Um,
planning to roam a little bit after I got Spectre off, and I would be able to salve maybe like Tinker if he got bullied,
okay,
is my thought
so
process.
am I given permission to be rude?
Yes,
Okay,
sure.
okay,
Owen me, dude.
okay. I want to shit on you. Okay, so
Alright, do it.
okay, how much Dota do you play?
I with school starting up, I've been able to play like 2 to 3 games a night, maybe. I
Okay,
was playing like 10 games over the summer daily.
okay. So you've been playing a lot in this patch specifically.
Yeah.
Okay, how many times as a 5 position in 95% of games do you leave your lane in the first 5 minutes?
How many times?
In this patch, how many times should you leave your lane in the first 5 minutes as the 5 position?
Not often. To
Zero.
like pull or stack.
Zero. That's not leaving your lane. Stacking and
That's
shit
not.
is relevant to your lane. Okay, so like that's not leaving your lane. So
Hmm.
this thing of roaming is no. Okay, so like if you want to watch what happens to your carry when you roam in this patch, feel free to watch my Bloodseeker game. Okay, just feel free to watch it, and then, like you'll find out what it does to your carry to roam. BSJ, you're just blaming your teammates. No, my support's actually a fucking idiot in this game, okay? So, if you want to know what happens when you leave your safe lane, as a support, for anyone in chat, feel free, and yourself, feel free to watch this game, okay? So, secondly, you're not leaving your lane. So, all you should care about is in the pregame. That's the only time you could possibly help your teammates' lanes, right? For the first 5 minutes, you are in your lane. That is it. You are in your lane. So, anything you do from 0 to 5 minutes is about your lane. That's all that fucking matters. But before that, you need to help your other laners. Where is this guy's tangos? Where is his sentry? Where is the offlaner's ward to give to him so that he can ward? BSJ, he's an idiot. He's not going to ward. Well, then okay. Nothing you can do about that. But they probably need a ward against an Ursa. Why is it important to have a ward in the offlane against an Ursa?
So you can maybe like his support or shaker would be sitting on the outskirts, and he would try to like hit him with what is it, the Fisher, and try to secure.
Yeah, right. So Ursa's a high kill threat hero, right? That's what you're
Yeah.
getting at. Ursa's a high kill threat hero. So you want to know if Ursa's potentially running around to wrap on you, or if there's an Earthshaker wrapping on them to fissure them, right? Like you already said it, right? But like I'm just clarifying to you and everyone else, right? So as a support, right? What is your job in the laning stage? This is your main impact on all of your
To make it
cores.
an easy as laning stage as possible for my carry in my lane.
All of the cores you can possibly help. Certain games you can't do anything for some people. Okay, certain games you can't do anything. Okay, other games you can help all 3 lanes somehow. In this game, off lane ward. If they don't protect themselves, so be it. Okay, like if they place a shitty ward, so be it. But what percentage of the time are they going to place a good ward if they don't have one? 0%, right? Like, but if you give them a ward in 1.7k, 20% of the time they place a decent ward, you are now having 20% of your games where the offlane goes better. Okay, like that's how I want you to think about it. Okay, so my emphasis to everyone in any bracket is that if you are doing the right things, you are gonna give your teammates a chance to do the right thing. Like, but if you don't give them a ward, they are never going to ward. That is just, that is an objective fact. So I'm trying to laugh about this, but I want you to understand, like, clearly, based on what I just asked you, you understood why they need a ward bottom. So now give them a ward bottom, okay? Like that's that, or at least think to yourself. Like last game, last session, the guy kind of mentioned like, I don't feel like I never thought about that kind of stuff, or I never considered that. Like after I got a kill, I didn't check the timer, I didn't think about my impact on lane. It's like, okay, now that I'm presenting it to you, you have no reason not to. So every game, you should consider: do I need a ward mid? What does my mid need help with? Does my off lane need a ward? Do I need a ward, like in my lane? Like, what am I afraid of in my lane? I feel like I would have probably 2 sentries in this game. I'd give one to Tinker and one to myself, because that's probably the 2 lanes Bounty Hunter will play around, is probably top and mid. So if I give the mid laner, if I don't give the mid laner a sentry, he's potentially going to get fucked. If I give the mid laner a sentry and I don't have one, I'm going to get fucked. So I need to give 2 sentries, like, because otherwise I get fucked, or my mid laner gets fucked.
Because Bounty just stayed bot the entire game. Actually.
Okay, so if that happens, so be it. Guess what? He didn't come top, and he didn't go mid. Okay, like, meaning you at least secured 2 of your lanes, guaranteed. That's the funny thing, right? Like, okay, maybe Bounty Hunter should not be bottom, okay? But if you're a silencer and you're looking to be aggressive on the offlaner, and you don't know where Bounty Hunter is, how does that affect you? Like, if I'm trying to harass this Timbersaw, and I don't know where Bounty Hunter is, what does that mean for me?
I shouldn't overextend myself.
Every time you debate how far you can go forward, just like you said, you're right. Like, every time you debate about how far you're allowed to go, if the Timbersaw starts walking at you, you have to back off because you don't know where Bounty Hunter is. And if he is there, you might just die, right? Like, but if you know he's not there 100% because you have a sentry in the lane, it lasts for 6 minutes. It's the entire lane for 100 gold. Meaning, like, it's the entire laning stage. Sentries used to last way shorter amount of times, like, over the course of Dota. But now they're 6 minutes. So 1 sentry means I no longer give a fuck about Bounty Hunter in this lane. I can do whatever I want. Like, and that's for me assuming, like, the way I look at carry, the way I look at support, what can go wrong in my lane in any game? So for me, it's like, I know I need to harass this Timbersaw. I know I need to support my Spectre. Why do I know that? Okay, can Spectre lane against Timbersaw without me?
No.
Okay. At what point in the game, in the lane, sorry, is my impact on this Timbersaw no longer a lot?
Once he gets, like, maybe, 2 points in his reactive armor.
There you go. So he gets
6.
level 3. So wouldn't you say that your effect on this Timbersaw is really low at once he's level 3?
Pretty low.
Okay,
but
so how much should
spamming spells?
Yeah, so you can maybe keep spamming spells, right? But your extent of that will probably be like a curse and 2 right clicks and you're done, right? Yeah. And then from there, he doesn't give a shit. So before he hits level 3, how active should you be in this lane? Like, in terms of how much should you be interfering with Timbersaw and all that jazz?
A
lot.
Early.
Okay.
A lot, yeah.
So once he's level 3 and you can't really do much to him, what's the best way to minimize your negative impact on this lane? Because the negative impact of a lot of supports is just sitting there, soaking XP and not accomplishing anything. So once he hits level 3, what can you do?
Maybe check if bot's getting attacked, or maybe...
Can you just leave Spectre alone?
Oh, okay, can't leave Spectre alone. So maybe stack?
Stack and pull. Or just pull.
Stack and pull.
Just pull. You can pull and chain pull it, right? The point is, the best thing you can do if you're not that helpful to your safe laner, but he can't lane without you, is to draw attention away from the opponent, which is by pulling. Okay?
Okay.
So that's what you'll see is, like, you want to think about your safe laner. If it's an Ursa, for instance, okay? If you were to be incredibly active until Timbersaw's level 3, give your Ursa an advantage. Can you then leave? If it's just Timbersaw versus Ursa.
Given?
Yeah.
Could.
Right. Why can you leave Ursa versus Timbersaw? Can he lane alone versus Timbersaw if he has an advantage?
Yes, he can.
Okay, because you know that matchup. But can Ursa lane against Timbersaw and Earthshaker?
No.
So you would look at this and say, okay, if I support my Ursa to level 3, I can leave him alone until... And then until Timbersaw gets some help. No, until Timbersaw gets some help. Meaning, you supported him until level 3. You now leave him alone because you gave him an advantage. And then when do you have to come back to lane? And it's when...
As soon as somebody else rotates?
Yes. Okay. Exactly. So, like, that... Okay. Perfect example of this. I'm giving you the replay ID. Jubei plays this lane flawlessly on Silencer. Okay? All of these things I'm now talking to you about, I need you to consider and watch Jubei's perspective on my lane. Okay? So, all of the things about sentries, about what to be concerned about in lane, when to pull, when to leave, when to come back, all of these things, I want you to consider when you go watch that game. I highly recommend. You just have to watch like the first 10, 15 minutes of that Silencer game. and it'll be very similar for you. Very good to analyze these things from a very good example of somebody doing it properly. Like, he actually played that lane flawlessly. So, like, I want you to know, like, everything he's doing there is correct, and you need to figure out why. Like, that's why those are the best replays to watch if they're available ever, because rather than having to consider if they're right or wrong, you literally just say, I assume they're right, now what? So I see all these things. I see you could have given 2 sentries. Honestly, it sounds crazy, but as a silencer, honestly, they don't really have much harass. They have a lot of kill threat. So I don't think I need that much regen. I need like 2 tangos just to trade a bit with the Timber Saw. I'm only going to be in lane until level 3 on Timber, so I just have to have enough regen to live that long. And then I can start chilling and pulling. And then, so by the time Timber Saw is level 3, what has to be available? The pole camp. The pole camp, right? Okay. So sometime in the first minute or 2, I'm going to find an opportunity to go see if my pole camp's blocked. If it's blocked, what has to be flown out by the time he's level 3? A sentry, right? Boom. But if it's not blocked, you're good. Like, all these things I'm considering are things that can go wrong. So I'm just saying, like,
block at this game, so
they did?
Yeah.
There you go. Well,
flew one out.
So okay, sure. That's important. So if you flew, but I'm looking at 2 wards in your inventory, right? Like,
yeah, I should have given. I was just being like, I think it was just like a late night greedy.
Okay, I got it. So I hear this a lot. Okay, so I hear people talk about, like, it's late. I've played like 6 games today. Like, I was kind of just not thinking. Here's the deal, guys. If you want to reliably win MMR, you have to fucking think a lot. Like, the version of thinking a lot for somebody in 2K is very different than the version of somebody thinking a lot in 7K, okay? What I mean by that is, like, you don't need to think as much as I do. I'm going to be honest with you, okay? Like, I'm not trying to be mean about it. But your version of thinking a lot is less than mine. It's all just like somebody who's running 3 miles instead of running 10. You know what I'm saying? Like, you still have to be able to have enough stamina to run that 3 miles, okay? Like, it's just how it is. But, like, I'll have to, for me to gain MMR, I have to do it for, like, a much higher level. Like, I have to sprint faster or something, you know, whatever this analogy, where that wants to take you. My point is, you're not going to reliably gain MMR. I'm not saying you can't gain MMR, because over time you'll kind of just naturally get better at Dota. But, like, because you're just playing, like, you'll get slightly better. But if you really want to get better, and you're playing 2 to 3 games a day, like, you should either have an alternate account where you're allowed to play and just dick off with your friends or something, or you should be playing 100% serious in every ranked game if you intend to gain MMR. If your intent is to play Dota for fun, first off, get out of my fucking ranked games. Sorry. Secondly, you know, if you want to play ranked and gain MMR, you do have to think all these things through at the 1K level. Meaning, if you do this at the equivalent of a 1K player, if you think about these things, guess how many players in your game are thinking about these things?
None of them. 0.
You're just going to win MMR, period. Like, you will. If your offlaner has the proper ward every game, if you have a sentry in every lane that you're supposed to have a sentry in, if you have a pull camp every time it's supposed to be, if you're harassing this guy heavily until level 3 and then leaving at pull camp, you're going to win more than half of your games. Why? Because your cores are going to have a better start than theirs. Because why? When the enemy has this exact lane against this Timber Saw, they're not going to do that. And you're going to, like, they're going to be way worse off than you will. You know what I'm saying? Like, that's the way you gain MMR as a support. Your 90% impact as a support is securing the lanes from like 10 to 15 minutes. Like, that's, and from there, yeah, you can still properly ward and all that stuff, but, like, you're at the point where you say, I gave you guys a 5K net worth advantage. Now carry me. And if you throw, shit, you know, fuck. Like, that's it, you know? It's like, on the other hand, when I complain about my supports, like, ruining my lane in my bracket, you know, that's me actually, I think that's a legitimate complaint from me. Because it's my job, it's my support's job to not be a potato in the first fucking 15 minutes of the game. I need their help in this current patch.
I love doing, I try to not be a potato myself.
Yeah. So, okay, let's look at
the Timber a few times, I think. Maybe 2.
So you're right-clicking him a lot. Okay. So the way I look at this is,
I'm just trying to bully him as
much. I see that you're bullying, and I think overall your idea of what you should be doing is correct. My question is, why isn't there a ward here and you're standing here? Like, you're being very scared about it, okay? So we don't necessarily want to push the lane a lot. We don't mind pushing the lane, though, in this patch, honestly, for the most part. The reason why I don't mind pushing the lane is because without you bullying this guy, he's not going to get harassed anyways, right? Like, you have to be the one that does it. So, in this case, if you're scared of pushing the lane, you'd have to level Glaives. That's actually an option, to be honest with you. But usually in the 2-1-2 meta, if you're against 2 heroes, you want Curse. But right now, you're only against 1. So I wouldn't have even minded if you leveled Glaives, knowing that's a condition, right? Like, I don't want to level Glaives usually this patch, because if I'm against 2 heroes, Glaives is shit compared to Curse. But against 1 hero, Glaives is actually pretty good. Simply because I don't draw creep aggro. That's why it's good. Like, I'm just clarifying. Like, it's not really for the damage, but I can hit the guy without... What?
So Glaives level 1, possibly if you're going against a solo lane?
Yeah, against a solo laner, yeah. And that's something you can consider as supports, right? So, like, usually you never see supports go Glaives in this patch. Why? Because the other guys have 2 heroes there. Like, so... Because they should have 2 heroes there. But this is something where you punish mistakes, right? Like, you need to know the reasoning for stuff. So this ability hits 1 hero, this ability hits 2, but this hero is more effective on 1 hero than this one, right? Like, so if you have 1 hero, this is the better skill. If you have 2, it's this. So it's like, same on Ursa, right? Like, if I'm primarily in a 1v1 melee, I'll take Fury Swipes every single time. But if I'm against 2 ranged heroes, or like 1 ranged, 1 melee, I'm going to go for an Earthshock, because that could potentially hit both heroes, right? So like, this ability hits 2 heroes, this ability hits 1. You know what I'm saying? Like, it's the same idea from a carry rules perspective. And you should think about every support, every hero you play, what their abilities actually are good against. 1 hero, 2 heroes, near the creep wave, away from the creep wave, when the lane's pushed, when the lane's not pushed. You see what I'm saying? Like, and that'll help you, first off, do your skills. But, so, I see, if they have 3 heroes bottom, that means that your team is at a relatively significant disadvantage bottom, in theory, and you're at a relatively significant advantage top. So if you're not getting that significant advantage top, that's a real big problem, right? Because you have to win this lane, because they're putting 3 heroes bottom, so they're expecting to win bottom. So I just think your idea of like bullying this guy is correct, but you're doing it too scaredly, I guess. Like, you should be past the lane. Like, this guy shouldn't, like, if I'm you, I'm thinking to myself, this guy should be getting bullied a shit ton. I want to try to preserve creep equilibrium if possible, because he's by himself, and if we push the lane to his tower, no matter how much I try to bully him, he's just in his tower anyways. So I want to keep the lane here. And then, if I'm thinking to myself, all I need to do to be able to bully him is see him, then I'll place a ward here, because this tracks him over here, it tracks him over here, and it obviously sees if he's in lane. So then,
wait, so that in that exact spot where you're putting your cursor is a good spot to
yeah, because I want to see
like,
him over here too.
How most of the time I actually didn't know that.
Okay, yeah, it's something to consider, right? So that's a little thing. So like, I'm tracking his. The point is, I need to see him, right? Like, to harass him. That's the only limiting factor, right? If you really think about it, if he's by himself, the only limiting factor is if I see him or not. So I have this because I want to see him here, here, and here, right? Like, as much as vision as possible. So if I see him here, 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 where are the only possible places in the lane left for him to hide?
Just in the like fog of war between those trees.
Right here and right here, right?
Yes.
So my time will be spent walking through here, and if I find him, boom, right click, right click, right click. If I don't find him in here, what's my next move?
Go check the other tree.
Whee! Run all the way up here. That's why you see supports like running through trees and shit, because they have like the proper wards to like know where the guy can't be. And then if he's not here, if he's not in lane, there's only 2 options left. So they're just like process of elimination, clean sweep, and you just see them like running around chasing the guy, finding him, right? And your Spectre, if she's any good, or like obviously like in an ideal circumstance, will just be denying creeps this whole time. If Timbersaw's not in lane hitting creeps, you're happy, right?
Yes.
Like, right? If your Spectre is just allowed to deny theoretically every creep, we're good. But is that necessarily going to happen every time? No. But my point is, you're setting him up to be able to do his job. So I look at this as, whenever I'm harassing, what's my limiting factor? Is it me seeing him? Is it me pushing the lane? Is it me being scared of a support? Is it, what is it? And wards can address that. My skill build can address that. The way I play can address that. Like, if I'm scared of a support, I'll maybe play a little bit back, that kind of stuff, though. So that's what I look at, right? And so I feel like so far, you have the right. I asked you, like, when you should stop being effective, all that kind of stuff, and you have a good idea of that kind of stuff. Now think of it more in depth. Like, obviously this sucks, right? Like, stop it. Stop it! But he's going to do that. So that's life. Nothing you can do about that. Your Spectre just decided randomly to start pushing the wave. You never really understand it, but that's life. Either way, I'm looking at the stuff you're doing wrong. So, I assure you that, since that's going to be something your carries do a lot of, what does that increase the importance of? Your pull camp, right? Because only thing you can do as a support to counteract your Spectre doing that is pulling. Okay? So, whatever it takes for you in your bracket, walking out to your safe lane immediately, placing a ward here, having a sentry on you at the start of the game, every single game, I don't care, right? People in your bracket aren't going to be perfectly efficient. So you don't need nearly as much regen as you would if you were 7k, because they're not going to harass you nearly as much as they should. Just make sure you have all the tools necessary for you to do your job, okay? So I would highly prioritize sentries over like 4. I'd have like 2 clarities and a sentry rather than 4 clarities and no sentry. You know what I'm saying? So like your impact on the lane equilibrium is simply pulls. So in this spot, I see that my Spectre starts pushing, right? This is something that's probably going to start happening to you. You notice it happening right about here. So you're in lane. Can you go pull right now?
I wouldn't be able to make it.
You'd be late, right? So you're going to pull by win. You know you need to pull because you see her pushing. So this is the same approach that I told the other guy. You know you're going to pull because you see the lane pushing. Because your Spectre did it. It doesn't matter who did it. The lane's pushing, you know you're going to go pull. So, and we're assuming you did all the other stuff right so that there is a pull camp. So you see the lane pushing. You have 143, like you said, when you're going to go pull. So what should you do for the next 30 seconds or so? 28 seconds.
Let's see. Well, I could maybe harass the Timber out more before making my trek to the pull camp.
Yeah. Do you care about anything you do in terms of lane equilibrium anymore? Is there any way you're salvaging lane equilibrium here?
No, they have 2 creeps.
You don't give a shit about lane equilibrium anymore, right? You're just gonna walk past the creep wave, curse this guy, hit him as many times as possible, and all you care about is making sure you get to this camp by 143, right? Mm-hmm. But nothing else. But anything else you do is like whatever you think is within the limits of your hero. But you should be as aggressive as possible, right? That's the main emphasis. But the minute the lane starts pushing, you're like, well, that's not good. We're 2v1. BSJ told me in a 2v1 that's really important to have good lane equilibrium. Well, that's absolutely correct, man. You are right about that. I did say that. So when the lane's pushing, immediately think as a support how you address it. And that's why if you're like, BSJ, what if I just don't have a pull camp? Well, then fuck, you can't do anything. That doesn't feel very good. So let's have a pull camp. You know what I'm saying? So, like, there's really nothing else you can do here. Please don't be that guy when you're supposed to pull that you, like, attempt 3 times to pull this camp. Please don't be that guy. They're in 7K. I'm just saying, those guys are in 7K somehow. I have no idea how. But they're there. And don't be that guy. Okay, so if you don't have a pull camp at this point, that is your only option. So you kind of have to be that guy. But suddenly, this spot where Timbersaw is weak, I would say if your Spectre is going to push the lane like this, you not having a pull camp this late is already too late. You know what I'm saying? Like, it's already too late.
I checked it, and I was like,
I see that you were ready, but like, in my opinion, because of the sense of urgency of knowing your carries will fuck up the lane equilibrium, it's just you needed to have that pull camp preemptively almost. Okay. See, like for me, that's not something I consider, but if you're worried about your carries breaking lane equilibrium every game, just like that, which they will, honestly, a lot, then you need to be prepared for that if possible, which is a sentry, right? Like that is having a pull camp. So that is possible. I think it's worth sacrificing a couple other things to make, like regen-wise or whatever, to make sure you have a sentry for yourself. So what are we doing here? We're leaving lane. So I think we've seen about 10 things you could have done better in the laning stage to secure bottom lane real quick, as well as your own safe lane. And now suddenly there's a Timbersaw level 4, your Spectre's level 3, not even close to level 4, and this shit's going to turn bad real fast. Like, we all know where this is going. So let's be honest about that one. Maybe you kill Timbersaw, like you said, but the fact is they tri-lane bottom, so your bottom lane should be losing. And so if you guys don't win top, suddenly you lost one side lane and you lost the other lane too. I don't see any kills on this Timbersaw happening, by the way.
Yeah, I thought maybe it happened. Maybe different game.
Yeah, it must have. I mean, either way, like you're not killing him
Starts getting
anymore.
cocky and like tower diving. I think a little bit later.
Yeah, so maybe like later on in the laning stage. I thought you meant like super early.
Yeah.
So this is fine. You were a little late on the bounties. Being there at 5 minutes is a big difference between being there at 5 minutes to 5:20. Why?
The enemy could have gotten there
Yeah,
already.
you gave them the chance
Walk
to
into it.
make the right play. You gave them the 20 seconds to make the possible right play. And so that's like small thing, but it's there. So you see this, you see your tower is getting a little dove, you have a Spectre. Only thing you can possibly do is push the lane out with your curse. That's the only thing you can possibly do to help this. Are you doing anything to this Timbersaw? No. Please realize that, right? We talked about that. So rather than doing what you did, you should think, I just need to make sure my Spectre doesn't get dove. Should I soak XP from my Spectre?
No.
Okay, so it's fine if you take this one creep, but this wave should get cursed, and then you walk away and pull. Doesn't that make sense? If you can't deal with the Timbersaw, but you also don't want to soak XP from Spectre, that you pull the lane as much as possible?
Yeah.
Right? That makes sense, right? So that's a situation where you'll see silencers at like the really high level, or any other hero equivalent, like a Jakiro or something, breathe fire. Or like even a Bane might just right-click the creep a few times, like to help push it. They'll do whatever they think they can do to help push it, and then they'll walk away as soon as they can to give the Spectre as much XP as possible, right? So that's the best you can do. You don't do anything to this Timbersaw. Stop trying to do something to the Timbersaw. You know what I mean? Like, just help your Spectre pull the wave a bit. So this is a spot where I'd be cursing the wave and walking away. Guess what happens when you try to fight the Timbersaw? Your Spectre ends up trying to fight the Timbersaw. And then your Spectre has to lose a salve. Even though it's not always going to work this way, it actually happens a lot more than people think, even in lower brackets. If you're playing this dodgy game, your carry will naturally start doing it too. It happens in almost every bracket. You know, will he sometimes still just try to fight the Timbersaw for whatever fucking reason? Sure. Okay? But if you're like pushing the wave and walking away, and you say, I'm pulling, just be careful, like you say that in chat, odds are, you know, that we're all going for odds here. Statistical, you know, potential max here. The odds are he's not going to try to fight this Timbersaw. Like, that's just the odds. But, like, the odds are much less likely that he fights the Timbersaw if you do that than what you're doing now. So, this is one wave too late on the pull. Like, you should have done a wave before. Okay, so the reason why it's so crucial that you did it a wave before, I'm explaining this to you so you understand the impact. If you push this wave here, right here, you push this wave, what's going to happen is Spectre's going to have a wave that's against a wave. She's going to have this wave to kind of be a normal wave for her, and it's going to be like right here while you're pulling. You see what's happening? Like, so she's going to have like a normal wave, and she's kind of protected by her own wave. It's not the exact same against Timber, because Timbersaw is not going to be scared of creeps, but in general, like, she's not going to be underneath her own tower, okay? Like, getting dove is what I'm saying. She'll be, like, in a spot where she can, like, dagger a creep, get one or two creeps, but she's getting all the XP, that kind of thing, right? That's what the spot she's going to be in. But she's getting all the XP either way. But if you wait a wave like you do now, what happens is the lane gets pushed, and then it gets to her tower. It gets to the guy's tower. And because it gets to the enemy tower, what's that going to do to the lane equilibrium? Because it got to their tower.
Push it forward?
It's going to push towards you, right?
Oh, push it back because the tower's going to
Because the tower is going to start killing the creeps. So then by the time you pull,
Radiant's top tower is under attack.
there's no creeps of hers. So now she's getting dove. You see the difference here? So that's why when I'm in my games, this is what 7K supports do wrong, or like 6K supports do wrong too, honestly. Okay? Like, they don't understand why it's so important to pull a specific wave. Okay? So like, if you wait to pull like you did, this is what happens. If you pulled the other wave, like I said it the other day on stream. I don't remember what game it was, but I literally am like, guys, I just died because my support didn't pull properly. Like, I literally just died because of that. I don't know what else to say. And I leave it at that because I don't have time to explain in the middle of a game. But this is why. It's this concept of like, depending on when they pull, affects when the lane equilibrium is going to be, and then it affects like how vulnerable their carry is to dying. Okay? And so this is a spot where you kind of had to walk over because of what this is like. You did the right thing after doing the wrong pull, but you did the wrong pull. You get what I'm saying? about that?
Yeah.
Okay, cool. Moving on. This is a spot where I'd probably buy a Windlace, to be honest with you. You have 400 gold, and I probably think I need sentries. You prioritize this over this against this and this and this and this?
I'm not good at items.
These 4 heroes, what do? How do they kill you?
Beat the shit out of you.
They walk at you. They walk at you.
Oh, shit.
They all walk at you.
Oh, shit.
And you don't give a shit about move speed? Okay.
Oh,
You
that's
know,
right. Okay.
Yeah, okay, yeah. So that's how items work, right? What kills me, what goes wrong.
I'm trying to think about item
Yeah,
priority.
you know what I'm saying?
I
Like,
just recently got off the Tortellini. Like,
I got you.
midsummer.
Yeah, so those guides are nice, but what the guides don't do is tell you what order to buy shit and like
Yeah,
why
they just,
shit's
like,
important. They
buy
just tell
them.
you what items to buy. So honestly, in certain games, very rarely to be frank, but in certain games, that Ring of Regen may be more valuable than that Windlace. In certain games, very rarely though. Like that's almost never correct, to be honest with you. But there are some games where it may be, okay? But you just need to ask yourself, how do I fucking die? Am I sustaining against an Ursa Timbersaw?
God, no.
No. Okay, moving on. So now that everything that's gone wrong in the first 10 minutes, this is your prime. We're stopping this game at 15 minutes, by the way, because that's when your impact in the game stops.
Yeah, I need to start making. That's like I realize the games are made within that.
For you as a support, 80% of what dictates whether or not you can make this game winnable is what you do in the first 15 minutes.
And then like it's just up to me using my global correctly or something.
Yeah, later on in the game, okay, your impact's there. Like, it doesn't mean you're non-existent. But, like, percentage-wise of how much control you have in the game, it's way more now than it is later, right? That's the point that I'm trying to make. So, we see that. I mean, at least you're picking up bounties. That's, like, probably the best thing I've seen, is a lot of people, even in my bracket, don't do that. If I do Divine 3 games, they don't fucking check bounties. It's insane. Watch my Divine 4 games. Bounty runes don't get picked up. It's pretty nuts. Okay. I mean, like, if people are in 7K, they're checking bounties every fucking time. But, like, I'm talking, like, it's actually insane. Like, 5K players just don't check bounties. I'm like, what? Okay,
Is it
so...
worth warding it?
When would it be worth warding a bounty rune?
Maybe if they have a lot of mobility, or, like, somebody's always missing on their team?
Yeah, they have a hero like Pudge or some shit that if you don't know where he is, if you walk up to that bounty rune, you just fucking die.
Yeah, he catches
Right?
you.
So, like, if you need that safety to know, like, where their hero would be. In this game specifically, if I have enough movement speed, like a Boots Windlace, I don't think I actually need a ward against these heroes because I can just walk away from them, honestly. But, like, with your current items, I mean, at this stage in the game, I'm still checking bounties because that's the most useful thing I can do. And I actually want to go to your next replay. I want to see your next game. And
Alright.
every game, when you watch this back, I want you, which I think you should watch this back, you should listen to all the things I tell you to consider and try to make that happen every game. Meaning, certain things, you consider them, and if they don't apply, what do you do? If that just doesn't apply in that specific game. You just drop it. Like, you just forget about it. Like, I want you to make sure these are things you should always consider, and if they aren't relevant, that is possible. Like, one of the possible situations is that it's just not relevant that game. Like, literally, just it doesn't matter. So if it doesn't matter, you need to be able to also say, okay, I thought about it, but it doesn't matter. So we're gonna move on. So the goal of this session is whenever people are supporting and they feel like, I mean, it's a large thing. It's not just you. A lot of supports I get, they literally say like, I feel like my cores are just complete idiots. And it's like, I look at that Spectre thing and it's like, yeah, like what the fuck is he doing hitting that range creep? But
He was one of my smarter carries.
yeah, but like he actually did a decent job, to be honest with you. Like in terms of other than that one range creep thing, like everything else was okay. Like nothing glaringly terrible. But like notice all the things I pointed out to you that could have been way better from you, right? And so that's that's what we're trying to accomplish here. Wait, is this captain's mode? Holy shit, it's a captain's mode.
Yeah, I got sick and tired of like we got Peruvian man locking Slark first pick and then
Okay, so you just wanted a try-hard game. Are you Silencer again, or who is... Yeah, you're Silencer, okay.
I'm trying to I don't know, I was just ranked spamming Silencer.
Okay, so let's... Yeah, that's fine. I actually think if you're trying to... When you're trying to apply all these concepts, by the way, that I'm talking to you about, I think it's better to just play one hero. I think that's better, because then you eliminate...
Bench also.
Yeah, but yeah, okay, two heroes, either way. You're eliminating a lot of random variables, meaning, like, you're playing... the same hero, so you can focus on all these other little things. So it looks like this game you actually gave like tangos, and you gave you gave a ward. So clearly you're not you know to do these things, but now having the laziness factor, why is it that some random 7K player will just drop 900 MMR? I guarantee it's because they're just being lazy, and that is a factor of MMR. So to be clear, that is a very important thing to consider. You're against an Enchantress, or you're against, what are you against? Enchantress? Yeah, you're against a tri-lane. I feel like you probably needed a ward this game, to be honest with you. But the way I look at this game is I think I'm under duress against Enchantress. Like, my carry's unfavored. So obviously there's only 2 wards in the game, so only 2 lanes could potentially get wards. And I feel like in this lane, you're at a disadvantage. So I would like to have a ward. Because if I don't see the supports, and I walk up and harass the Enchantress, and Venge is there, and just stuns me, I'm just fucking dead. Right? So, like, I feel like in this lane, if you want to help your Jug at all... Okay, are you necessarily killing Enchantress in this lane? Why or why not?
She didn't buy Nature's Attendance first time, so I think we get away with the kill, but no.
Should you expect
usually.
to kill her? Okay.
No.
Okay, why or why not?
And run away. She has Untouchable.
Yeah, she's faster than your Jug. She's just gonna run away. She's actually just gonna walk away, right? That's what should happen. So, like, can you kill her if she doesn't do it properly? Sure, but you should not, like, going to the lane saying, I'm gonna kill her. So that's the difference here, right? When we talk about, like, punishing mistakes or, like, assuming your opponents are bad or whatever. So we do that part. So we said we're not going to kill her. So what's the best thing I can do for my Jug? What's she going to do to my Jug?
Gonna harass him.
She's going to right-click the shit out of him, right? So what is my job in this lane, then? We're not going to kill Enchantress, and her job is to shit on my Jug by right-clicking him a bunch. What's the best thing we can do?
Should I stock up on tangos and healing properties for the Jug?
Just like, conceptually, though, what are you trying to do to affect this lane? Meaning, if you weren't in this... Okay, so this is a great way. I tried to explain this as the offlaner last game. If you're a support in the lane without you in it, meaning you're not here, what does it look like? If you're not here.
Jug's getting harassed. Maybe the Enchantress is not pushing terrible because she's harassing him.
Okay. She's harassing him a lot, so you're saying, like, she's not going to push a lot, but she's going to harass a lot.
I feel like if she's spending all of her right clicks trying to hit Jug, then it'll just be kind of like Jug. The minions honestly might push to our tower.
Okay, yeah, they probably would. That's what's gonna, like, honestly, thinking about it in that much depth is fine. Like, you can say, like, yeah, probably gonna push in our tower because she's gonna draw a lot of creep aggro and, like, yeah, all that kind of shit. Okay, so that's actually matters. If I'm not here, my Jug's gonna get harassed a lot. Venge might wrap around on him and kill him, right? Like, Venge might, like, she probably levels wave level 1 because that's what most Venges do now, or good ones do. Sorry, I hope you level wave. Yeah, probably should pay attention to that. Yeah,
I actually don't know why. You can explain something.
Because how many stuns do you have level 1?
Just that one.
And is stun like a trading thing?
No, it's a secure.
It's like a kill thing. Is this a kill patch?
This is not a kill patch.
This is a trade patch.
Yeah.
Why do you think this ability got nerfed? That should tell you a lot.
Because people were spamming it.
Because people were spamming it.
It helps.
What else can you do with 60 damage as a support? What can oftentimes your core not be able to secure in a lane? Range CS.
Oh.
And why is it important as a support ever to steal a range CS?
So that they can't deny it?
Yeah. So abilities that help you steal range CS when your carry isn't going to get it. Meaning, like, you're not doing it to steal it from him. What if this creep... Okay, say you're Avenge. What if this creep's at 100 health? You could say, hey man, walk up to that creep, and you just wave it and he hits it. Right? Okay, like, obviously that's high-level coordination, but, like, and this is a 1K game, but if you tell the guy, hey, walk up and hit that, like, and you wave it, like, you know what I'm saying? Like, maybe they're not good enough for that, but, like, if somebody said that to me in my lane, I know what they meant. Like, but my point is, trades, kills. Trade patch, not kill patch. Only level this if you're like going for like a level 1 play at the rune. I don't even know if it's worth it, okay? It just goes to show how many things people do wrong, okay? Like, this is wrong, period. Like, if you are going to play Venge that many times, just watch 2 Venge replays. I gave you a Silencer replay. I don't have a Venge replay off the top of my head. Lot to learn from that Silencer replay. And there's a lot you could probably learn from watching like one single game of Venge. From like a high-level player, the way they like... And the things you pay attention to are the things they're focused on in lane, where they ward potentially, where they play in the lane, like how they play the lane, you know, whether they're pulling, whether they're harassing, whether they're, you know, using Wave of Terror to secure creeps, how often they're stunning, why they're stunning, like, you know what I'm saying? Like, if you see a guy, like, if you see a Venge in lane, and you see the enemy core walk up for a range creep, and that Venge stuns him and denies the creep, that tells you in your mind that any good Venge player would think it's worth to expend a stun to deny a range creep. Okay? Like, that tells you something. Like, oh, that's worth it to them. Then it should be worth it to me. Like, to do that. So next time you see a core walking up for a range creep, you might decide to stun them and deny the creep. You know what I'm saying? So, like, that's the kind of stuff you learn when you see people and you just watch them real quick. You just watch them play a hero. So, back to what we were saying. A great way to gauge your impact as a support is to do what I just did, where I say, what's the lane going to look like if I wasn't here? That also helps you know when you can leave or not, by the way. That's a great way to know whether or not you can leave the lane. Like, my question for you. If the lane is pushed, in this case, I'm a Bloodseeker, safe lane, and the lane is pushed, okay? Like, we're dire, lane gets pushed. And it's me versus like pushed towards them, sorry.
Oh, push towards them.
So it's at their big camp-ish. It's like, right here. Okay? I'm dire, and lane's right here. And I'm against Willow Weaver. Okay? And I have no support. What's gonna happen?
They're gonna go on you.
Can I walk up?
You can't even walk up.
I can't even walk up, right?
You'll get rooted and stunned and...
Let's just show you an example of this. I actually want to show you why... I actually can't not show this game right now. So this is why this idea of asking yourself what's going to happen without you here is really important. This guy is ranked 700 in the region, by the way. Okay, this Spirit Breaker. Please explain this to me. Okay, like right how this guy. This is when people who are lower than rank 700 should feel bad. Okay, like this is. So look at this lane. We've been trading like crazy, back and forth. This lane, like everyone's expending a ton of regen. Like Weaver's like really low. I'm really low, but I'm under tower. I only have 1 tango left.
And he leaves.
He just fucking leaves!
And look at the Dark Willow. Oh man, she's poised, ready to get
Tell me what I am supposed to do here.
You're supposed to...
Walk up, hope he Sakuchis me and pushes the wave. I die so I can get the wave under my tower. But, like, what was I supposed to do? Like, you know, okay. So, like, point is, all it took was Spirit Breaker simply saying, what happens if I'm not here? Okay? Like, if the wave's under tower and he's not here, is that okay?
Yes. If
Yeah.
under our tower.
That's great. Like, if the wave's right here, can I lane without him? Sure.
Mm-hmm.
The lane, I can't lane without him if the lane's here. Like, so as a support player, if you're the Spear Breaker, like, this is actually relevant. Like, I know I just sound like I'm raging, but this is actually very relevant. If the lane's that far out, is it an option for me to do anything that isn't in my lane? What are my two options as a Spear Breaker here? The lane's pushing, right? The lane's pushing. What did we talk about? What are his options? Does he have the option to leave because of what happens to me?
No.
No option to leave. So he's got, what does he got? Like, the lane's pushing, is this good for us?
This is not good for you.
No. So what does he know needs to happen?
He needs to pull.
Okay, at 143. It's not that fucking hard, right? This is very simple. This is rank 700, by the way, guys. So, not that hard. So, what does he do for the next 7 seconds? 6 seconds.
Just harass.
Yeah, just like hit a couple people and then walk over and pull. If he walks over to pull and the Willow stops him, is that all that bad?
No.
Why?
Took her off the objective.
Because I can actually lane against just a Weaver. Right? Like, that's fine. We're good with that.
Yep.
So, but that's the point, right? Is I can't walk up in lane against Willow Weaver. So he has to stop that from happening. Right? Like, meaning me having to walk up in lane against a Willow Weaver. So if he says, like, he's harassing with me right here, so maybe I'm just helping him harass right now because I can't even walk up still, even if he's here, honestly. I can't walk up to this. So I'll say, he's like, oh, I'm going to go pull after this. And I'm like, oh, okay, and I'll chill. If he says I'm going to go pull and he goes and pulls and I die here, whose fault is that?
Yours.
Okay. So, like, meaning for your perspective in your bracket where carries are going to mess up. If you do everything I just said and then your carry dies anyway,
Carrie's fault.
How many times is he going to die if you just abandon the lane? Every time. Right? Yeah. Every time. But we need to give him the chance to make the right play, right? But the important aspect of this is all this guy had to do was consider what happens if he leaves, okay? Like, that's all he had to do, okay? So that's a big part of being a support. So, like, when you were talking about roaming, when you were talking about, like, what your options are in a game, right? You don't have the choice to leave in certain games. You just don't, right? I can't tell you how many supports in my bracket, I'd say 10% of my games, my lane is completely ruined because my support just decides to randomly leave. Mind-boggling, okay? Mind-boggling. I'm saying, like, you will fix so many games if you just don't leave your core when you're not supposed to leave your core. like, just ask yourself, what happens when you're not there? So, the original point we are coming from, right? We said, what happens when you're not there, okay? So, in this lane, we ask yourself, what's going to happen if you're not there? And you talked about all the things the Enchantress, the Venge are going to do. So then, if you ask yourself why you're not, or what happens when you're not there, how does that help you? Why do you think I'm asking you this question?
If I ask myself, what happens when I'm not there, how does it help me? That puts I guess that puts in perspective on my importance of the lane.
Yeah, it puts your perspective on whether or not you can leave, first off, like I already mentioned, but also your impact in this lane, right? Because guess what? If you say to yourself all the things that are going to happen if you're not there, and then you ask yourself, if I'm there, does that change? And the answer is no. Are you going to try to contest them head on?
No.
No. So in that case, you say, well, is pulling an option? Or do I just leave the guy? There are sometimes, at like 5 minutes of the game, you actually just have to leave the guy. Because you have no impact, and you can't help him in any way. But you had to ask yourself, yeah, you're literally going to sap XP, and that's terrible, right? Like, that's really bad. So, like, go ward something, go check a rune, go harass the mid laner briefly, something. Just don't soak this guy's XP without doing anything, right? Like, if you're soaking this guy's XP, all that means is not only are you soaking the guy's XP, but there has to be something on the map that's better than that. Like, something, like, has to be. Like, placing a ward, checking a rune, whatever. So, my point is, if you ask yourself what your impact on the lane is, or, like, you ask yourself what's going to happen if you're not there, you can know what your impact is. So we said, your impact, or, like, what's going to happen when he's not there. He's going to get hit a lot, potentially stunned by Venge or Wave of Terror or whatever. It's going to be under his tower a lot. So while you're in lane, what can you seek to minimize?
Minimize.
What's the only way you can stop Enchantress from hitting him?
By harassing her.
So that
she has to go back and waste mana on...
How about so she hits you instead?
Oh.
Is that a crazy thought? Okay.
Sort of.
So what if you're a melee hero? Okay. So say you were the Spearbreaker here. Okay. Mm-hmm. What items would you buy?
For an Enchantress?
What item has to be in your inventory if I told you that's your job?
Orb of Venom?
You are here to make it so Enchantress right-clicks you instead of Jug.
Ooh, Stout Shield.
Yes! Yes! Right? Okay, yeah. So that is so crazy. Items, right? Like you said, your itemization sucks or whatever. Boom! That's how items work. What is my role in this lane? What is my job? What item do I... like? So, my job... Wait a minute. My job is to take hits. Buy a Stout Shield. You know what I'm saying? Like, so... Like, I'm telling you, these are things 6K players don't do. Was that complicated, actually? Was that complicated?
It was not that complicated.
It really isn't! Okay? So, I'm not saying that to insult you. I'm saying as long as you think about it, it really ain't that hard. Like, you just have to know to think about it. You have to know the right approach to thinking about the lane, okay? Like, so, what happens if you're not there? What can you do to alleviate that? So, maybe as a silencer, it's not as much about tanking the right clicks, but you have to make it so that if she's right-clicking the jug, she's taking right clicks from you. That's probably more accurate, right? For this situation, or she's potentially fighting you back, right? Like, either way, you're trying to draw her attention away from the jug. You make it so she can't just hit jug for free. So, what is required for you to do that? You have to be. Are you going to be on top of the creep wave when you're doing that? Are you going to be in the middle of the lane doing that?
No, I.
Why
should
not?
be, because that'll just draw creep aggro.
And then if you're trying to do that, instead of Enchantress hitting you, you're just going to get hit by 4 creeps, and then you're tanking as much damage anyway, right? So, you can't do that from within the creep wave, right? So where can you do it from?
Gotta be in the tree.
You gotta be like over here, or over here, you know? Okay? So if you're over here, and you're against Venge Enchantress, what could go wrong?
If I'm over there with no vision, I mean...
You walk into the Enchantress, you're hitting her, and then what?
Avenge comes out of nowhere.
Stuns you. And then either you take 500 damage, or you die. Right?
Yeah.
So, what do we need to do our job in the lane?
Stout shield.
Not on fucking silencer, dude. You need vision of the Venge.
Vision. Sorry.
Right? Like, you need vision of the Venge. Is that right?
Yes.
Same idea, right? So put some ward that sees where Venge is going to be. So that you decide pre-game, I'm going to play here, I'm going to play here, whatever one, and then you place a fucking ward. So, like, you can actually decide to play here. It's honestly okay if you want. So then maybe the ward would be, like, right here. Or maybe it's over here. So it just sees everything over here. I'd say if I want to play on this side of the trees, I'd put the ward, like, right here, because it sees anytime the Venge is walking on this side of the lane. But, like, it's not going to get dewarded by all the normal sentries if they try to deward you. So I put it, like, right here, because it sees Venge ever walking into this side or this side. So as long as I see that, I know Venge is not going to stun me out of nowhere, and I can continue hitting this guy, right? If all I care about is Venge stunning me, if I'm over here, do I care if Venge is right here?
No.
Do I care about seeing her? As long as I know she's over here, I don't care where she exactly is over here, right? That's my point, though. So, what's the lane going to look like without me? What can I do to help that since I'm here? Because that determines my impact. How's that going to look? What could go wrong? Boom. Okay? Was all this like, that stuff you consider pregame? You have to. Every hero in the game has to consider that. Anytime I fuck up this kind of shit, it's literally because I got lazy or I forgot about something. I didn't consider it. Like, sometimes I won't consider that there's, like, a third hero there. Like, what some people are doing in really high tier Dota right now is they'll tri-lane for the first wave. Like, they'll stun you or some shit just to do, like, 400 damage to you and then leave. And, like, that'll win them the lane. Like, that's something they'll do. And that's something I didn't consider, you know? So I'll be like, oh, I should be considering whether or not they start here with 3 heroes just in case. So until I see their support in the other lane, I'm not going to do that. Like, I'm going to act like there are 3 heroes here. That kind of thing. That's something I have to consider. But if I don't consider it and they have the heroes there, I, like, take a ton of damage, potentially die, whatever. But that, you see what I'm saying by, like, a plan of attack going into your lane? All these factors I've considered. We talked about them last game. We talked about it this game, like a couple different approaches to the same thing. But let's go ahead and play this game out. This is all the things that you could have done in the first minute and a half. Okay, moving on. So now you're playing Scared Behind Your Jug. Guess what happens when you play Scared Behind Your Jug?
Jug gets...
He gets right-clicked. So all the times he gets right-clicked instead of you, it's because you're back here. Okay, so you go to the side. So you're getting the right idea. Okay, so you're playing on the side. This is good. Okay, so they overstepped their bounds. Not bad. You're still playing on the side. So, like, you got there eventually, meaning, like, you did start doing the right thing. Lane's pushing, though. So, but, dude, it's 131. What are you doing?
I thought I had no other options because they were under tower.
Okay.
But perhaps, at least what I can see on the game right now, I was just getting ready to pull.
So
Too far up.
No, so it's a good idea to pull. I'm not flaming the pull. What's wrong with what you're doing, though? So when you do this, okay, this is how you learn. Okay, this is how you learn. You're like, I need a pull. I'm here 11 seconds early. What does that mean for next time?
For next pull?
For next time you play a game.
For next time I play a game. Don't waste that 11 seconds. Instead, maximize that time I just wasted sitting
Okay,
around.
so what should that 11 seconds be doing now?
Harassing if there's
Yeah,
someone in lane.
you should just be cursing them and maybe hitting them once or twice, right?
Yeah.
So now the beauty of it is when you waste 11 seconds like this, guess what that gives you? It gives you 11 seconds to think about what you could have been doing.
Oh,
Isn't that beautiful? You wasted so much time that now you have so much time to consider what you could have been doing. It's beautiful. But the point is, all sarcasm aside, when you do this kind of stuff and you show up to an objective early, this is actually something I don't know if ever has come up in my coaching sessions. If you show up to something early like this, you should use all the time you have to think about, wow, I showed up 11 seconds early. What could I have done then? Sometimes it's checking a rune. Sometimes it's stacking a camp. Sometimes it's like whatever the objective is. You know what I mean? So, whenever you get somewhere early, anywhere, anytime, say you got to the bounty rune at 448, you know what I mean? And what if you ask yourself, is there always going to be something you could have done?
not always.
Not always. But as long as you ask yourself, you'll never miss it. You know what I'm saying? This is how you correct your problems, right? Am I expecting you, as a 1K/2K player, to never waste 11 seconds?
No.
No, exactly. I'm expecting you every time that you get to somewhere 11 seconds early that you then consider what you could have done with that 11 seconds. And then guess what? Over time, you're going to stop wasting 11 seconds. You see how that happens, right? Like, our goal is to expedite the improvement process. So here we go. We got the pull camp. Clear. I'm being very clear. This is correct. You just wasted 11 seconds. Okay. Okay, sorry.
What was the yikes?
About the Ringer region.
Oh, the same thing.
Yeah, same thing as last time. Okay, so overall, this is correct so far. So lane is going to push again because it meets under your tower, right? So I don't mind everything you're doing. I'm telling you this because that's important, right? Lane's going to push again. So lane's going to push again. What does that mean for you?
Lane's gonna push again. There's not much I can do besides harass, and I need to pull again.
When are you pulling?
As soon as that creep camp comes back.
What minute exactly? Minute and second exactly?
13 or 3:13.
Okay. Is there anything distinct that you have to do before that time?
Anything distinct? Up.
Like
Check.
a very
Maybe,
specific
harass.
objective.
A specific for 3:13.
Before
stack.
313. You could potentially stack the big camp.
Or the big camp, I mean.
Potentially.
Or,
Is that really that good against Enchantress, though?
no, it just gives her more to enchant.
Yeah, theoretically, it'd
Shit.
give her more to enchant, right? And Jug's not really going to kill the stack yet. When does Jug start killing stacks?
Gets Battle Fury or like another bigger
A
item.
little earlier than
Battle
that.
Fury this game.
A little earlier than
Oh.
that. He can clear it with level 7, by the way. Maybe even
really?
level 5. Like, he definitely needs at least level 5, but sometimes usually level 7.
Okay.
If they're any good, they can start clearing the stacks. And that's something, you don't always know that stuff. But, that's not as nearly as important to learn as all this other stuff. I'm just pointing out, considering when your carry can clear stacks is an important aspect of actually stacking. Okay? I've seen supports in my game stack, and I'm like a fucking Spectre, and I'm against an Axe. And I'm like, what the fuck are you doing? What? I'm a Spectre, and he's an Axe. And you're stacking. The big camp next to the creep wave. What's that going to do? It's just going to give the offlaner a quad camp, right? What? I've used an extreme example, but people do that. Believe it or not, they just autopilot and they stack camps. I'm like, dude, that's not good, right? That's not a thing. Okay, so do you have any distinct objectives before 313?
Right now?
Yeah.
Besides that stack possibly, but that just gives more enchantress.
Yeah, so you
nothing
considered
really.
it. That's important. You said, oh, I could stack. No, it's not good this lane. So you're not going to do that, right? That's important,
I could
though.
buy a ward, probably have it. Well, the Shadow Fiend starts. This is where the Descent to Madness happens, where the Shadow
Okay.
Fiend starts getting his ass kicked versus Monkey. And,
But the main emphasis is, do you have a distinct objective?
no.
Okay, so what can you do until 313? Or until you have to start walking over?
Just not soak XP of this jug, and maybe
Yeah.
would sitting around at the camp actually be all right this time.
I would say that what's the only thing that's going to stop you from pulling? Okay, first off. Does your Jug need your help to lane this right now?
No.
Okay. When does he need your help to lane this if this is the situation?
If there's like two people right next
Or
to
maybe
it.
an enchantress even in his face that you could curse or some shit, right?
Yes.
So where should you be in the lane?
Maybe we're like on the other side of the trees.
Where he is,
or,
right?
like, far back. Yeah.
Where he is, right?
That would be
And
the best.
and in an ideal world, if he doesn't need you, are you soaking XP?
Not from that range. I actually don't know like the soak range to be away from the creeps.
It's. I mean, I know it by like feel, but I believe it's 1300. It might have been expanded to 15. I know
don't
it by
know
feel
the units of the game.
Let me see. Dota 2 experience range. I know it by feel, but I don't know it by exact number. It's 1500 now. Yeah, that's what I thought. It used to be 1300. Now it's 1500.
So,
Your
about
day
the-
vision
like,
is
what
1800.
1800.
So if you look at Jug, that's 1800.
Okay.
So 1500 is like right here from Jug.
So that should be like all the way where the stairs start. For
Ideally,
the soak range.
you should be out of soak range. I am
Yeah.
saying try to be outside of soak range, but don't like neuter yourself to be outside of range. You know what I'm saying? Like, don't like put yourself out of position. Don't like make it so you're useless. You know what I'm saying? So like, I think the most useful thing. Okay, what's the only thing that's going to stop you from pulling at 2 or 3 minutes? 3:13.
If they block the camp.
Okay,
or
so
if
maybe
somebody
you go
stands
stand
in it.
right here and scout the camp for a bit. When will you be needed in lane again?
The next time the lane gets pushed out, or they're
Or there are 2 heroes there again, right?
yeah.
I can't tell you how many times on stream, I see Twitch chat flame me when I say this kind of stuff. I can't tell you how many times I'm on stream and I say, I need your help support, and it's because there's 2 heroes in my lane, right? And then one of the heroes leaves, and then I'm like, dude, walk away, what are you doing? And then my chat's like, you just told the guy to be there. And I'm like, yeah, because the given circumstances in the lane meant for him to be there. And now they're not that way anymore. Please leave. You know what I'm saying? Like, people need to understand like that the lane situation constantly updates. Okay, like constantly. It's like always going to be refreshed. Like what's happening in the lane. I want to be clear. We got about 10 or 15 minutes left. We've hit about an hour, so I always go a little bit over. But I can't fall too far behind. So, what do you want out of the last 10 or 15 minutes? Making sure you get whatever you need out of the coaching session if you feel like there's something that you came in expecting to learn and I didn't talk about it yet.
I want to know about like my early support itemization maybe.
Okay.
With Silencer, I've watched support streams of you before with other people, and you always got to think about like what are they gonna kill me with? How do I counteract that with like an item? Because Silencer has no escape. So I go,
Yeah.
okay, they're gonna probably like kill me by running at me. I am gonna need a force staff, so that's why.
Okay.
Is that like a good thought process?
So in this game, how do their cores kill you?
The CK would reality rift me, Venge would swap me, the monkey would jump out of a fucking tree and start beating me with his club. Enchantress just has range on me.
Okay. So in terms of damage, how do they kill you?
Melee mostly. Their cores are very physical damage.
Okay. So will a force staff save me from half of the stuff you just said?
Yes. It would get.
Will it save me?
Would get me away
Sorry. Will
from-
half of the other things still kill you?
Yes, the impetus would kill me. The Venge could swap me back if
Okay.
I wouldn't initiate with a force
Okay.
staff, but
So what item prevents all damage from all of their cores?
Ghost Scepter.
Okay, that's the item I'd buy. So, like, you may say, but what about Enchantress Purge or something? Honestly, if she's forced to purge you after a swap or something, that's a lot of abilities used on you. And you still should have time to use your ult in that time. I feel like a Ghost Scepter almost guaranteed buys you enough time to ult this game. As long as you are not literally walking into the enemy team and dying, okay? Like, if you're sitting in trees or something, and you're found, I feel like you'll almost always be able to get Ghost Scepter into ulti off in, like, every fight, I feel like. Until they have, like, sheep sticks or, like, orchids or something, you know? So, my item in this game would be a Ghost Scepter, because I'm like, if I get swapped in and stunned, I'm dead as shit if I have a Force Staff. But if I get swapped in and my immediate reaction is to Ghost Scepter, unless Enchantress is within enchant range, I'm alive. Right? I'm actually alive. Well, what other damage do they have? And if they do have no damage, what are they forced to do while I'm Ghost Sceptered? If I'm swapped
Switch
to...
to somebody else.
They have to, like, stun you or something.
Oh, they have to
You know what I'm saying? Like, they have to then expend stuns on you, right? Like, and you're a 5-position silencer. So that's not bad. That's how I kind of think about it. So, like, when I'm playing support, I think, like... So, if I'm silencer or dazzle, what's always going to happen to me if the enemy team knows what they're doing?
They're gonna kill the shit out of you really
First.
quickly.
Why? Why?
Because
Why
you
do they
have,
go on you first?
Dazzle has the what is it? I don't know, his ult. And
His
then
shallow
Dazzle has
grave, too.
global.
I'm saying,
shallow grave.
yeah,
Yeah,
shallow
that's a pain
grave,
in the
right?
ass.
So if they go on somebody else, you're gonna global. If you're a dazzle and they go on somebody else, you're gonna grave them, right? So like, almost always. Well, I don't know why people always question mark when people like jump them with 3 heroes as a dazzle. What do you think's gonna fucking happen to you? You're a dazzle. If we go on anyone else, you're gonna save them. And if we go on anyone else, you're gonna global. Of course, we're gonna jump you first. We don't care you're the 5 position. Same with like Wyvern shit, right? Right? Same as Wyvern. On the other hand, what about Undying? What if you're like a 5 position Undying?
Can you play 5 position on that?
Yeah, you can play 5 Undying. I think it was a
Oh
5.
shit. Can
Yeah.
you play him in like safe then?
Yeah,
I
yeah,
love
you
that.
play him as like a safe
played
lane
the shit out of
babysitter. Yeah.
Oh wow.
Hey, man, if you ever
as
see
a-
like an offlaner melee picked first, Wraith King, Tiny, that kind of shit, pick Dirge, dude. It's like the best pick.
Okay.
Because it's
So-
like a strength. You're like soaking the damage of the offlaner. You can trade with them really well. You can potentially just like buy Stout and hit them a bunch, you know? So, notice how many times in this patch your job is to like take attention away from your carry. And Undying's really good for that. Undying traditionally used to be known as like an aggressive dual laner, but much more so if you watch him at TI, he was played as a babysitting support in the safe lane. That's what he was played as. So he's a great support for like against any strength offlaner or a strength 4. So if you see like a Pudge or Spearbreaker or Spirit, you know, anything like that, and then or a strength offlaner like Tiny or Wraith King. And I don't know what happened. I don't know what happened just now, but I'm assuming it's just reloading. Okay, yeah, I don't know why it does that. So basically, Axe, another one. So excuse me, because think about it though. So we said as Silencer and Dazzle in team fights, what's the opponent going to do? They're going to jump you every time, right? That's what they want to do.
Yeah.
What about Dirge? They want to jump you?
I mean, they want to kill you too because you have the tombstone.
But
So,
what if you're level 15?
Level 15, they don't want to kill you because you'll drop a tombstone
Okay.
if you take that, which you should usually.
So actually, though, most of the time, dirges. So if you, what dirges will do is like they'll actually, even if they don't have 15, they don't care if they get gone on as long as they tombstone. So they'll like walk into a dangerous area, and the second they're threatened, they'll just like lay a tomb and then expect a feed. Is what ends up happening. Okay, but the point is, if I'm against an Undying, unless I can reliably kill him full to 0 before he lays tomb, do I ever want to go on him?
You said unless you can kill him full to 0 and he has
Before he tombs.
before he tombs. and you
Unless
know
I can kill him full to
he's
0 before he tombs, do I ever want to go on him?
No.
Okay.
Unless you want to kill him before he gets it off. or-
So, as an Undying, we talked about Silence or Dazzle. I'm sitting like way in the back, making sure I don't get initiated onto because I know they want to jump me, and I know it's really bad if I get jumped, right?
Yes.
So, if I'm Undying, where should I be playing in fights?
Toward I guess the front if you're planning to like kamikaze throw out a tomb.
Yeah.
In like somewhere.
Because if
tactical.
you really think about it, they don't want to go on you as long as you can get your tomb off. So, I will play as aggressively as humanly possible while being able to get a tomb off. That's where I play in fights. So then when it comes to items, you know, do I go 4 staff and shit? No, I'll go like, that's why you see like casual bucklers and stuff on an Undying. Or like raindrops and a wand. You know, they just buy shit to make it so they're, whatever they think kills them full to 0 before they tomb is mitigated as much as possible. You see what I'm saying? So like, that's what Undying does. So it's like, but that's all that is them asking themselves what their role is in the team fight and how that pertains to the enemy team. So, like, if I'm a Dazzler or Silencer, they always want to jump me, right? So if I'm a Venge, what's usually my job in fights?
Just to swap yourself in on their like most important player.
Or to save one of my teammates, right?
That too.
So if I'm a Venge, what teammate should I be in range of swapping?
The one that you need to save.
How
and you
about
should
the
be
one
back.
that's most likely to get gone on based on your heroes and theirs? So, like, what heroes generally get gone on? The ones that, like, deal the most damage and rely on positioning?
Snipers?
Yeah, I'm just saying, like, you can name all the heroes you want, but I'm saying, like, in theory, the ones that rely on positioning and deal the most damage. Or the most impact based on how long it takes to kill them. That's how I look at it. Like, so I'm going to be standing next to whatever hero that is. Like, meaning close enough to swap that hero. Like, if I have an axe on my team, am I standing next to him to swap him?
No.
No, because he should never get gone on, right? Like, if he's doing his job properly, he should not be the one getting gone on. Correct? So, he's the one counter-initiating. Same with axe, right? Like, if I'm axe, I'm going to stand behind my core that I think is going to get gone on. That's what I'm going to do. It's like, if I'm Dazzle, I'm going to stand behind the guy I think I need to grave the most. If I'm Wyvern, I'm going to stand in a spot where I can curse defensively on whatever hero. If I'm Bane, I'm going to, like, or if I'm Ogre, am I going to play passively on Ogre? What do Ogres tend to do if you watch closely? They do the same thing Undying does. They just walk in and say, I dare you to use 3 stuns and 2,000 damage on me. Like, I'm a fucking Ogre. What else am I doing? I already bloodlusted. Like, what else am I doing? You know what I'm saying? It's like,
Trying to stun or something.
yeah, it's like if I'm Slardar, I'm like playing in a way that I'm scouting out heroes and like looking to blink on X hero, meaning like whatever hero I think I'm supposed to initiate onto that game. But I'm considering what hero I'm supposed to initiate. If I'm a core, it's like if I'm Ursa, I need to know like if I'm against Wyvern and I'm Ursa, like if I want to jump one of their cores, I have to consider where Wyvern is. I'm not going to jump a core if Wyvern's missing. Because if I go on them with Wyvern there, he's just going to cold embrace the guy and slow me with his Q, and then I'm like fucked. I wasted my blink initiation as Ursa, right? Like, if I'm a Weaver, usually that hero goes on backline supports. So am I going to hit the Alchemist in front? No, I'm going to weave on the Phoenixes and the Silencers and the backlines, and I'm going to kill them first. Like, you see what I'm saying where it applies in all roles, right? But you have to think about your relevance to the opponent team, what your hero is supposed to do. If you don't know these things about a hero, go watch a game. Go watch like how these players in the high levels play, like what they do to approach fights. Like, do they kill the supports in the back? Do they focus the cores? Do they, like, what are they doing? Or like, if they're a support, are they positioned really far back? Are they walking in like a madman? Are they sitting behind a specific hero? Are they, are they not even at the fight? Like, sometimes you'll see silencers where they're against like storm spirits and shit, and they're actually just gonna sit in fucking base because they know no matter where they are in the fight, they're gonna get shit. They're gonna get jumped, right? Like, there's no position.
Yeah, that happens to me.
Yeah, I'm saying there's no positioning they can have where the storm spirit's not gonna just ball on them and kill them. So they'll sit like either so far in the trees that the only way they'll see them is if the storm spirit had a ward in the tree somehow, or if they just sit in base, right? So that's my point. Is I think we have to wrap up the session there, to be honest with you. But I think that's my point about items. Like, they're gonna jump you first in this game. Their damage is physical, so buy a Ghost Scepter. Like, Force Staff ain't going to save you from swap into shit. You know what I'm saying? It's not going to save you from Reality Rift into stun. Like, he will still stun you. So it's like, rather than that, I'm just going to buy 3 or 4 seconds with Ghost Scepter. And if I don't get my global off, that's because they then stunned me for the entirety of my Ghost Scepter. Right? Like, which honestly is kind of a miniature version of global if you think about it, because you force them to use 3 of their abilities on you that they can't use on someone else, right? So it's kind of like silencing if you think about it. But yeah, man, I feel like we've gone over a lot of stuff in the early game, and I know like we saw mistakes that your cores make. Like, it's not like your cores aren't going to mess up, but there's so much for you to improve on and consider in these games, and I hope you feel the same after listening to this, and I hope you watch that Silencer replay and one other, like maybe find a Venge game. I don't have one. If you're going to play a lot of Venge. But just think about these things. Think about your impact in the lane. Think about what your core needs from you. Think about like how you can fix lane equilibrium things. Think about like, if your impact's to do a certain thing, think about what you need as a hero. Do you need extra? Sometimes it's extra regen. Sometimes you're just going to be trading a lot. If you're a Dirge, for instance, right? Like, sometimes you don't need to see where they are. You don't care. You just need to know like that you need to be able to throw more abilities at them. So buy double mango instead of, a sentry, that kind of thing. You know what I mean? Or a ward, that kind of thing. So just think about what you need to do your job after you've analyzed it. And the training part of it is getting it done during the strategy phase in like the 45 seconds. And that's why I sometimes get really mad at myself for not paying attention during the draft. Because is this all stuff that you should only realize once they've picked all 5 heroes? you should try to constantly update yourself as they're picking heroes, is what I'm trying to say. Like, without being sarcastically questioning about it. Like, when I look at their heroes, I think to myself, all the potential issues that are now presented every time they pick a hero. I'm probably laning against that hero. I might be laning against that hero. I have to consider laning against that hero. I'm not sure. Like, you know what I'm saying? Like, I want to see those heroes. And then it's like, oh, they last pick Zeus? Like, oh, I'm a Terrorblade. I'll have to consider raindrops at like 5 minutes. I'll remember that. You know? That kind of stuff. I'm just saying as a support, you know, it does help these decisions I'm making, or I'm telling you to make pregame about how your lane's going to play out. It does help you to, like, if they, like, in your bracket, you'll see all kinds of shit, right? Like, you'll see all kinds of random offlaners and stuff.
Yeah, I feel like I lose the draft, or lose the game because of the draft sometimes.
Yeah, that happens. But honestly, like, in the lower MMR you go, the less likely the draft actually matters. Meaning, like, the only way a draft is lost is if, meaning the reason why a draft win matters is because the team that wins plays it right or whatever. So, my point is, like, if you see an offlane, if you see a first pick fucking PA, it might be offlane, honestly. So you should consider, like, oh, if that's offlane, I'll want this. And then if you see them pick a troll, you're like, oh, it might be offlane troll or PA. So where can I meet in the middle? You know, like, meaning, like, what's the best way to prepare for either? You know what I'm saying? Like, I'm just saying, I know you see some weird shit in 1K, 2K. So I'm just saying, as the draft opens up, like, you know, if I'm not sure who I'm laning against, I'll try to find the best medium between the two so that I can deal with either. That's what I try to do. Okay? That's the best option, because you'll see all kinds of random shit. So, we're going to wrap it up there, man.
All right.
Any last questions before we call it?
Would it be like, should I check back with you in a month, you know? Like,
Yeah, usually I say at least a month. Like, at least a couple weeks.
I did do this
Usually
as
like a
private
month,
save.
because I feel like you have a lot of stuff that can just be, like, a lot of random things that will, like, meaning all the things I presented to you today, a lot of little things that can be worked on a lot. Is kind of like how I look at it for you. Certain people, it's a little different. Like, if I say there's like one or two things that they need to get better at before they come back, then I can say, yeah, come back in like a week or two. For you, I feel like there's a lot to consider, and you can clean up this first 10, 15 minutes a lot. And I think there's like, the only time I need you to come back, if you're wanting to come back, you should come back when you feel like you've cleaned these things up, or you've hit some sort of wall in the process of trying to get better at these things, if that makes sense.
Okay.
So, that's what you should be. Wait, let me make sure here with my timings. Yeah, okay. We gotta go. Yeah, okay. But yeah, that's what you should consider. If you're looking to come back, then just think about it that way. Just think, like, you know, when am I? As long as I feel like I'm still improving in the things BSJ talked about, I don't even need to come back. If it takes you 2 or 3 months, great. You know, like, no rush on when to come back in terms of your own money. We just want you to only come back if you feel like you know, need to in order to continue this process of what I'm telling you to do now. So, okay, man. Thanks for signing up. I appreciate it, and best of luck, dude.
Thank you. Bye-bye.
Yeah.